Hello and good morning. It's not morning. So, hello and good morning and good afternoon and good night to everyone. I have been out the last couple of days, which I think I mentioned. Oh, ooh. Which I think I mentioned on my last live because of the fact that I was celebrating my anniversary with my sisters who came to visit me, which was honestly really awesome. And we had such a good time. I'm so grateful for the time that they were here and that they spent. And it was just it was really great. The whole thing was really great. Oh, that's really watery now. So, how is everybody? I want to know how everyone's doing. Now that this is over, like now that this is over, I am glad that when it comes to most of this, oh my gosh, I'm so lost. What day is it today? Is it Monday? Is it Monday? Wow. Yeah. So anyway, oh, thanks, Mohammed. I appreciate that. It's good to see you. It's good to see. Oh, maybe I'm just happy because, well, actually, I slept a lot yesterday. Like, why am I sweating? I slept a lot less yesterday because I was not even kidding. Like, I was like super depressed yesterday because my sisters left and I had such a good. Do you guys ever have that happen where like you have such a good time when something happens that you like low key get depressed after? That's how I felt yesterday. I was so happy when my sisters were visiting me for my anniversary that I like was depressed yesterday when they left. And I had to sleep. I just like slept most of the day, which honestly like doesn't happen most of the time because I get depressed a lot and like I won't sleep over it. It just always seems to be when like I'm really sad about something that then I'll have those days where I just sleep. So, anyway, how's everybody else's week going? I think this week will be better. You know what? I think I'm going to change. It was such a crazy week. So, the two things that I'm going to be going over today, and this might be just a shorter one, I don't know, but the two things I'm going to go over today is Biden's insane, disastrous interview with George Stephanopoulos and also the Haaretz article that came out of Israeli media. I think today. I was actually offline for a couple days, so I didn't see it until today. I don't know if it came out earlier. Of them them reporting on that it has been fact checked and confirmed that the IOF did in fact employ the Hannibal Directive on October 7th, despite the fact that they have been denying it for months. They've been denying it for months. Oh, that's a lie. It's fake news, blah, 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 blah. But like, it wasn't. And most of us who were paying attention knew a while ago that it wasn't fake, that it was, in fact, what they had deployed. The Hannibal Directive is not new. They've done it before. And now we have confirmation from Haaretz that that happened. So they're going to have a hard time, you know, doing the everything I don't like is anti-Semitic when it comes to this Haaretz article, because Haaretz is, in fact, an Israeli news outlet. So very suspicious that it's released by media now. Honestly, that's probably happening because they are getting tired of Netanyahu. Because if you guys notice, a lot of what they've been doing lately is being like, oh no, it's not the whole society. It's actually just Netanyahu. So if we can just get rid of Netanyahu, then like something, we can just put this to bed and we can pretend that it never happened. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they're trying to do. Yeah, and so many of us, Evelyn, so many of us did know. And as I'm sure you experienced too, it was endless smearing, calling us names, saying we were conspiracy theorists, you know, saying we we're anti-Semitic, all that kind of shit. And, but just like this, I fully expect for eventually they will admit, like the reporters and stuff will admit that everything else that they lied about that we know is a hoax will come out. Like, I believe and fully expect that eventually the, mass rape hoax thing is going to get debunked. It's the babies in ovens thing was already debunked. And by debunked, I mean by more mainstream media, because those things have already been debunked and they were debunked a while ago. But the media continues to run with them. So I fully expect that eventually, I don't know when, but eventually Israeli media and probably Haaretz will come out confirming those debunked stories. Because same thing with the Hannibal directive. That was already debunked a while ago. But to see it come out now in Israeli media is definitely something of note. And I think that the other ones will as well. So yeah, we're going to go over both of those things. The thing is, though, about the YouTube thing, I want to go over that just quickly, that George Stephanopoulos interview with Biden that was so deranged. But I'm actually not sure what I'm allowed to play on YouTube and what I'm not when it comes to copyright, because I don't know if you guys saw it. We're here in my last live where I played the clip from George Carlin, that like famous clip, George Carlin talking about the American dream and what like BS it is. But I got a copyright for that right after the live ended. And they're like, you can't play this because it's copyrighted material, which I was just confused by, because it doesn't tell you on YouTube. So like, you never know. Yes, thank you, Linda. Hi, good to see you, Linda. And yes, please do hit the like button and the bell so that it notifies you guys when I'm going to go live. Oh my gosh, it is so hot. It, like, unironically, like really, really hot in New York. But yeah, please do hit the bell and hit the like or whatever, the subscribe and the bell and all that. But yeah, I actually got a copyright for going over that George Carlin thing. And it's just, I just don't know. I guess I need to find somebody who also knows YouTube or makes YouTube videos, because I really don't know what is considered copyrighted material and what is not. Because sometimes we've gone over news things and it doesn't give me a copyright. But then on this one, the George Carlin one, it does. But it doesn't tell you beforehand. So like, how do you know? I don't know. It's confusing. I'm freezing in Australia. Is it really cold there? That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Apropos of nothing, just to say about Australia before we get into the videos. I didn't realize that most of Australia was like uninhabitable for people. That like most people who live in Australia live like along the coasts, which is crazy to me. I didn't know that. And that Australia has like the scariest bugs and animals, like more so than any country. I was like watching this like Instagram video where they were going over some of the weirdest animals in the world, and like 8 out of 10 were from Australia. I was like, this is crazy. I never knew that. I thought Australia only had cute animals like koalas and kangaroos. Oh, of course they are. You've seen channels with Fair Use Act before their videos. Wait, Theater of the Absurd, are you saying there is a way to tell whether or not you can use a certain video on YouTube? No, I don't, Evelyn, I don't think it was a report. I think that they make it so that when they get there, I use the video, they let them know that I use the video, and they can either choose to report the video then, once they know I use their video, or not. Because I have this on my YouTube, when people use my videos, which many have, they let me know too. They're like, this channel used your video. Do you want to like flag it? And I say no, because I don't care if people want to use my videos. Like, all of this should be fair use. Oh my gosh, I know the spiders in Australia. It's like traumatizing. You put a disclaimer at the start of your video. I didn't see that, Theater of the Absurd or Wandering Star. I didn't see that. Oh, you're saying I have to put a disclaimer at the top of my video, but I did it during a live. And I got like a copyright right after. I don't know. I just thought it was weird. I just thought it was weird that some videos they don't have a problem with, but then some videos they do. And I wouldn't have been able to do that during a live. I don't know. It was odd. I need to research that more because I want to be able to go over videos. And I know that you can with some because I see other YouTubers doing it all the time. I just don't know like what the rules are around it. Yeah, I think it's really cringe when people give you issues for copyright. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. I just thought it was weird. I was just mostly annoyed that I didn't know beforehand. I wish there was like a more obvious way to be able to tell beforehand whether or not something was going to give you an issue just so that I could not use it or use a different one, as opposed to like not knowing and then I get it after the live is over. It removed it. So then like I'm like, this is so annoying. I think even JRE struggles with that. Oh, that's so annoying. I think even Jerry struggles with that. All right, guys. I think we should go. You'll be okay with ABC. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Did any of you guys see that interview? It was so delusional. It was really next level. It was really delusional. I think I told you guys this. I haven't been on live for like a couple days because my sisters came in to New York to visit me to celebrate my sobriety anniversary, which I had 10 years sober on July 5th, which was awesome. So they came to celebrate it with me. So I was offline for a couple days just to be with my family. And so I wasn't on Twitter. I wasn't like, I mean, I went on for just a moment just to post that I had been sober. But I didn't see it. So I didn't see it. I don't know. I think the video happened on Friday night. But everyone was like, in the media was like, oh, he's going to step down. He's going to step down now because of this. No. Some people even were like, oh, he's going to do this interview with George Stephanopoulos and he's going to make an announcement that he's stepping aside. No, not even close. It was so next level delusional, like him defending his choices. It was really, I was listening to it like, you've got to be kidding me, right? Like, this is a joke. Say psych. Like, I was waiting for him to say psych. I was like, say psych. No, it was so embarrassing. It was, oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. It's like they want to lose. I'm getting convinced that they want to lose. That's my thing. So, yeah, it was insanely cringe, insanely embarrassing. By the way, the whole point of this interview was to prove that Biden had the stamina and the intellectual capacity at this late date and the I shouldn't say intellectual, cognitive capacity at this late date to be able to continue to run for president. And it was so embarrassing. He's literally like, watch me. We are watching, bro. We are watching. That's the problem. We're watching and we see that you do not have the cognitive ability to continue. Thanks, Linda. Yeah, it was, oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. It was like I had like third-hand embarrassment. Yeah, same, Evelyn. I can't really predict a lot either anymore too, because I was thinking maybe he would. When it comes to this, sometimes, although wait, no, I shouldn't say that because a lot of my predictions actually have happened. Now, I don't know if this prediction is going to be true, but I am predicting that he's not going to drop out and the Democrats are going to lose. Jill probably doesn't want him to quit. Maria, that's exactly it. It's his narcissistic wife is definitely part of it. Man, what a villain she has turned out to be. Did you guys see the embarrassing clip of her being like, you did so great, Joe. You did so great. You answered every question. And what a Trump he lied. And she was talking to him like he was a toddler in a kindergarten. Like he was talking to her like he was a toddler in a kindergarten. It made me realize in that moment that Joe Biden is one of the great villains of our time. Like she does not want him to drop out because she wants to continue to get Vogue magazine covers and wants to continue to run the presidency from behind the scenes. Because she had pictures of herself like, look at me getting ready for the G7. And it was a picture of her behind the Resolute desk. And then there was another picture of her like, look at me coming down the stairs of Air Force One. Like, listen, bro, if you want to run for president, you run for president. Stop doing this weekend at Biden shit. If you want to run for president, you go and run for president and see if anybody votes for you. But it was like so next level. Like, and if she really cared, I don't have anybody in my family anymore anyway that has dementia. My grandmother had, my adopted grandmother anyway, had Pick's disease and died in 2008. And everyone I talk to has somebody in their life that's had dementia. They're like, she clearly is not doing what's best for him. Like, why would you allow everybody has had a family member at some point that had dementia or that had Alzheimer's or some form of it. And it makes me think like, and everyone I've heard said the same thing. Why would you do that to somebody you love? If you really love someone, why would you allow them to humiliate themselves that way? Can you imagine? Like, do you guys remember? I don't know how many of you pay attention to, I don't know, pop culture or whatever. I don't really pay attention to celebrity news, but I remember seeing this because it went viral. There was a video of Bruce Willis, who is like a famous actor, legendary actor in the States. And he has some type of disease. I don't remember what the disease was called, but it was some form of Alzheimer's or dementia. And there was this video of his family like propping him up and walking him around the house. And it was like humiliating. And it got a lot of backlash. Like people were criticizing his family for allowing him to be seen like that. It was so horrible. All right, let me. I want to show you guys that. I feel like this is delayed. It's annoying me. I'm not seeing your comments until like a minute later, like related to what it's saying, which is like very annoying. Okay. I'm looking for that Joe Biden clip. Yeah, this is why she wants to stay president. She wants him to stay president so she can keep getting Vogue covers. Oh, where is it? Come on. Twitter's search engine sucks. Oh, here, I think.
Such a great job. You answered every question. You knew. Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Why? Joe, you did such a great job. You answered.
Bro, that's so dark. So that was right after the debate. That was right after the debate. She's talking to him like he's a kindergartner. Yeah, for real, collage mirage. Yeah, she's talking like he's 3 years old. And like he looks out of it. Like he's like smiling, like, did I do good? Oh my gosh. It's so embarrassing. Even the crowd sounds like toddlers. I know. I know. And they got pictures of her. Like she posts pictures of herself. Like Oh, it's so cringe. She just wants power. She just wants power. Wait, this or this? Which tattoo? I do need a new tattoo. All right, let's watch this really quick. I'm going to put it on 2x speed. It was also, yeah, right. You definitely know he got a cookie afterward. I'm going to put it on 2x speed. Because it's honestly not that long. That was the other thing that was super embarrassing about this interview with him is that it's supposed to be an interview to prove that he has stamina, and it's supposed to be an interview that proved that he can do the job. But it's a like 22-minute interview. Like, really? You want to prove that you have the stamina to do the job when you can't even do a longer than 22-minute interview? You can't even do a half hour? Like, it's so I'm talking too much. I'm just gonna go to it.
A special edition of This Week. President Joe Biden, his first television interview since the debate. The news-making exclusive. Now reporting from Madison, Wisconsin, George Stephanopoulos.
Good evening from Madison, Wisconsin for a special edition of This Week, the first broadcast interview with President Biden since last week's debate. Earlier this afternoon, we taped the 22-minute interview. There are no cuts, no edits. We have not touched it. At this pivotal moment in the...
Okay, embarrassing already. Embarrassing already that they had to be like, guys, don't worry. We didn't edit any of it out. Okay? Okay? Don't worry. No cuts. Like, embarrassing. All right, hold on. BRB, I'm going to go grab the rest of my coffee because, I'm going to need a little bit more energy for this shit show.
The presidential campaign, here it is. Mr. President, thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with the debate. You and your team have said you had a bad night.
Can you guys
But your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode with a sign of a more serious condition?
It's a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
You say you were exhausted, and I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked if they did a COVID test because we were trying to figure out what's wrong. They did a test to see whether or not I had some infection, a virus. I didn't. They just had a really bad cold.
And did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
Well, what I want to get at is, what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
Yeah, look, the whole way I prepared, nobody's fault mine. Nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail. And I realized about partway through that, I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran, not my fault, nobody else's fault. No one else's fault.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in, even before he spoke.
Well, I just had a bad night. You've had some bad interviews once in a while. I can't remember.
No, theater of the insert. I'm at 1.5, I think. But he does talk, but you're not wrong about that. He talks insanely fast. But still, insanely slow. I'm sorry. I did speed it up slightly. But okay, but what's so delusional is that right out the gate, he's like, I just had a bad night. Bro, this was not a bad night. You can barely talk now. Second of all, they're like, is this a bad night or is this emblematic of a condition or something? He's like, no. It's just a bad night, you know, plus I was sick. Okay. What's so embarrassing about this is that let's say that he's right. Okay. Let's just for a second say that he's right, that he was just sick and that he had a bad night and he was exhausted. It's not about you, bro. So if you can't perform and you sit there and allow Trump to lie 30 fucking times during the debate and beat you, then you need to step down. Even if all those things were true, even if you weren't senile, you didn't have dementia, and you just were tired and sick, your performance proved that you do not have the capacity to win. So you are allowing the opponent who lied a million times to get ahead of you when you claim democracy is at stake. You claim you believe democracy is at stake, that it's on the ballot, and that if Trump wins, it's the end of democracy because he'll turn it into a dictatorship. But you won't step down because you were sick, because it was just a bad debate. I don't believe that that's true, and no, neither does anybody else. But even if it were true, here's what it shows. Yes, we know he's a war criminal. Yes, we know he's enabling and propping up genocide. But on top of that, what we also know is that he is a narcissist and he is really, really selfish and doesn't care about the country as much as he claims he does. Because if he really cared about the country, he would step down for the good of the country, but he doesn't. But let's continue.
I guess the problem is here for a lot of Americans watching, as you've said, going back to 2020, watch me. Yep. To people who are concerned about your age. And, 50 million Americans watched that debate. It seemed to confirm fears they already had.
Well, look, after that debate, I did 10 major events in a row, including till 2 o'clock in the morning after that debate.
No, you didn't.
I did events in North Carolina. I did events in Georgia. Did events like this today. Large crowds, overwhelming response, no slipping. And so I just had a bad night. I don't know why.
And how quickly did it come to you that you were having that bad night?
Well, it came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that. But I realized that I just wasn't in control.
But part of the other concern is that this seems to have fit into a pattern of decline.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Wise Guy, for the super chat. I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. You're so smart. I hope you're not being sarcastic. Oh my gosh. He's like, it's a pattern. I was tired. I did 10 events that night. No, bro, no, you didn't. You did not do 10 events that night. That's literally made up. Also, he goes, I realized I was having a bad night when Trump started talking over my mic and and I realized that I was letting him distract me. Bro, it was right out the gate. The second Biden walked out of the flipping back thing, you could see he was losing. It was on question 1.
I don't know why.
And how quickly?
And in Georgia, did events like this today. Large
Bro,
crowds,
he can barely
overwhelming
talk.
response, no slipping.
Oh, okay, good.
And so I just had a bad night. I don't know why.
And how quickly did it come to you that you were having that bad night?
Well, it came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even.
Yes, I also want everyone to remember that not only is Joe Biden a villain, but so are all the Democrats, the leadership in Democrats, and the media that covers for them. Because they all know, and they're allowing this to continue. They know. They're all villains in this. These are the same people that made a coordinated effort to destroy Bernie Sanders' 2020 campaign. But they're allowing this to continue because they rather lose to Trump than to lose to a progressive.
When I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that.
But you are.
But I realized that
You're
I just
blaming it
wasn't
on
in
being
control.
tired.
But part of the other concern is that this seems to fit into a pattern of decline that has been reported on recently. New York Times had a headline on July 2nd, Biden's lapses are said to be increasingly common and worrisome. Here's what they wrote. People who have spent time with President Biden over the last few months or so said the lapses appear to have grown more frequent, more pronounced, and after Thursday's debate, more worrisome. By many accounts, as evidenced by video footage, observation, and interviews, Mr. Biden is not.
Bro, he looks so embarrassing. Like, even like the shots of him where like George Stephanopoulos is reading the media reports, he's like this, like, he's like this is so embarrassing. Oh my gosh.
Not the same today as he was even when he took office 3.5 years ago. Similar report.
No, and he's really honestly not the same even as he was 3 years ago. I was watching clips from the 2020 debates where I already thought he was too old. I already thought he was too old in 2020 and that he was already having memory lapses and already having a hard time talking. And then I saw clips people were posting to Twitter like a week ago of him 2020 versus now. And it's a huge difference. Like, it's a huge difference even 2020 to now. Because as everybody knows who has had a person that ages and is going down the road to like dementia, it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. It gets worse. And he seems to be going there quickly. Thanks, Absalom. I'm trying to take care of my mental health, although sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I'm not great at it, honestly. Who's more evil, Trump or Biden? I mean, I don't know. They're both war criminals. They're both, genocidal when it comes to Gaza. So I don't really know. Hey, Mohammed. It makes me so angry. Yeah, it just... Yeah, honestly, I don't know if it matters at this point, because let's just say maybe Biden wasn't as personally evil as Trump. It doesn't really matter because they both would be carrying out these genocidal policies. Tom, Mr. Warp Speed is more evil because of his vaccine. Yeah, I don't agree with that at all, Tom. I actually think the vaccine was probably one of the only good things that Trump did during his administration. I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any stretch of the imagination. Tony, 99 evil versus 95. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're both garbage. So, Big Boss, I don't know if that's true in regards to Biden. I think that the Democrats, sometimes I think I'll struggle with that. I'll be like, because the Democrats lie and pretend to be the good guys, whereas like the Republicans are kind of like outwardly evil. It's kind of like the good cop, bad cop thing, where like they all work for the same donors. They all work for the Israeli regime. They all work for corporations, and Democrats play the role of good guy and Republicans play the role of bad guy. I don't know. That's why I'm like, does it really matter? I think that maybe Trump is a little bit more evil personally because he's like an insane, psychotic narcissist. But is Biden really that much better? Because Biden is still carrying out the policies that Trump would be carrying out when it comes to Gaza. But I don't want to make it like, I don't ever want, and I see people doing this sometimes, to try to like make Trump better than he is just because Biden is in office and Biden is horrible on Gaza. Because let's not forget what a piece of garbage and Islamophobe Trump is. Trump literally called Biden a Palestinian as a slur. Like during the debate, he said, "You're a Palestinian" as a slur during the debate. Trump's criticism of Biden is that he's not vicious enough on Gaza. So honestly, I don't even want to imagine like what Trump would be doing to Gaza right now. Because his criticisms of Biden is that Biden isn't vicious enough somehow. I can't even imagine how, like, to me, Biden couldn't be being more vicious to Gaza. He couldn't be being more vicious. So the fact that Trump and Republicans say that Biden is weak on Gaza, like, I don't even want to imagine what's tougher. What is tougher to Trump and the Republicans when I can't even imagine Biden being more vicious than he is. So to me, Trump probably is more evil, because how could Trump look at Biden with a straight face and say he's not being tough enough on Gaza? Absolutely psychotic. Absolutely psychotic. And then he also calls Biden a Palestinian as a slur. Like, totally insane. And he wants his disgusting, narcissistic, psychopathic Zionist son-in-law to go into Gaza and take the rest of their property and turn it into beachfront properties for Zionists. Like, I don't know about all that. So yeah, it just, like, I'm not gonna fall for that. I don't know where this delusion came from that somehow Trump is gonna be better on Gaza when, like, his criticisms of Biden on Gaza are from the right. Like, you're not psycho enough, man. I just think that, I don't know why people think that. Like, you can criticize Biden and acknowledge that Biden is trash without trying to make Trump somehow better. Like, and like I said, I don't think it really matters, like, talking about whether or not who is more personally evil, because, like, they both are, but I do think there are varying degrees. Like, I do think that Trump would be worse for the United States, but does it matter? Because the Democrats don't seem to care about losing. If they really cared, they would force Biden out if they really cared.
Reporting in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal.
He looks confused.
Are you the same man today that you were when you took office 3.5 years ago?
In terms of successes, yes. I also was the guy who put together a peace plan for the Middle East.
Oh yeah, never forget that a lot of the billionaire Zionists are behind Trump right now. Let's not forget that. They are donating Miriam Adelson, who is the wife of Sheldon Adelson, who died a couple of years ago and had given $100 million to Trump's campaign in 2016, 2020, donated another $100 million to Trump on the condition that he annexes what's left of the occupied West Bank.
That may be coming to fruition. I was also the guy that expanded NATO. I was also the guy that grew the economy. All the individual things that were done were ideas I had or I fulfilled.
No, I really don't like when I hate having the conversation about who is worse, Biden or Trump, because I don't like having to defend Biden and acknowledge that I do think Trump would be worse for everyone in the Middle East and for people in Gaza. I don't even like saying that because Biden has been so horrific to the Palestinians that I don't even like having that conversation. But do I think, if, like, I'm in a corner and somebody's asking me, do I think Trump would be worse? Yeah. Tom, I think that you're watching too much right-wing media. Tom. I think you need to watch more lefty media if you actually think that Trump, that all these people are coming into the country from Latin America and all these criminals are coming in. That's just insane right-wing propaganda. And also that Trump would do anything about it. Like, I think that you are not watching enough lefty media and you need to watch more lefty media. On foreign policy, silver tongue, they're definitely not that different. There is a market difference when it comes, but that's what we're talking about. We have to look at the two things we're talking about. When it comes to domestic policy in the United States, they are, I think they are very different. But if you're talking about foreign policy, no, they're really not. They're really not. But if you think about it, every president we have ever had has been similar on foreign policy because they all defend the war machine. They all defend the genocidal Israeli regime, and they all do whatever they need to do to prop up the empire. So it makes sense that none of them are going to differ that much on foreign policy. The last person to really try to buck the establishment when it came to foreign policy in this country was JFK, and we all know how that ended.
I moved on. And so, for example, well, that was true then. What's Biden done lately? Today announced 200,000 new jobs.
Bro, who cares if he expanded NATO?
No one's ever taken on. I know you know this from the days in the government. I took on Big Pharma. I beat them. No one said I could beat them. I took on all the things we said we got done. We were told we couldn't get done. And part of it is what I said when I ran was I wanted to do three things: restore some decency to the office, restore some support for the middle class instead of.
Yes, exactly. Not to get too much off on a tangent because this segment is not about immigration, but Perry Stein made a good point about what Tom Gunn said about people coming over the border. That Aaron Mate put this point out there, which is true. The reason why people come over our border is because we don't start invading their countries. Like, people don't just wake up one day and say, hey, I want to come over the border to the United States with no money. Like, the reason why a lot of people are coming from Latin America into the country is because we keep destabilizing their countries. We go in there and we do coups, or does no one remember that the Trump administration tried to do a coup in Venezuela and failed? They tried to do a coup. We wreck their countries. We do coups in their countries. We kill a bunch of their people. And then people come over when they're trying to escape the ruins of what the United States created. And then we go, nah, man, you can't come in here. Like, seriously, maybe if we stopped invading other countries, they wouldn't come over. Like, why don't we try that? It's the same thing. Corporations going in and destroying places like Congo and Sudan. And then they're like, what's going on? What's happening? What's the problem? Yeah. So I feel like to Tom Gunn's like concern about immigration, I really think that, first of all, you need to realize that Trump is not going to do anything. It might be his psychotic administration, but be careful what you wish for, because the people that are going to get hurt by that are going to be more people than you think, and more people than you want to get hurt by that. And the reason why I don't believe it's going to happen, even if Trump wins, is because corporations would never allow it. Corporations love undocumented immigrant labor. They don't want to pay Americans living wages, and they can abuse undocumented immigrants and have them work in their factories and their farms and employ 12-year-olds and get away with it. So that is the reason why it's never going to happen, because if corporations don't want it to happen, as you guys know, who owns this country? Who really owns and runs this country? Corporations, the Israeli regime, and, well, corporations, the Israeli regime, and the military-industrial complex. Those are the three things that run this country. So if corporations don't want it to happen, it's not going to happen.
The trickle-down economics built from the middle out and the bottom up, the way the wealthy still do fine, everyone does better, and unite the country.
But what has all that work over the last 3.5 years cost you physically, mentally, emotionally?
Well, I just think it cost me a really bad night, bad run. But,
it just cost me a really bad night. Bro, You just got done saying that your excuse for having a bad debate was because you were tired. You just got done saying your really bad debate was because you were traveling and you were tired. And now you want us to think that it didn't cost you anything the last couple of years except for a bad night? Delusional.
George, I'm optimistic about this country. I don't think we're a country of losers, he puts out. I don't think America's in tough shape. I think America's on the cusp of breaking through in so many incredible opportunities. This next term, I'm going to make sure we have straighten out the tax system. I'm going to make sure we're in a situation where we have health care for all people, or we're in a position where we have child care and elder care, free up, and all these things. One thing I'm proudest of, I remember when my economic plan was put forward, a lot of the mainstream economists said it's not going to work. But guess what? We now have 16 Nobel laureates, 16 of them in economics, saying that Biden's next term would be, based on what he wants to do, enormous success. Trump's plan would cause a recession, a significant increase in inflation. I've made great progress, and that's what I plan on doing, and we can do this.
I understand that, and I'm not disputing that. What I'm asking you is about your personal situation. Do you dispute that there have been more lapses, especially in the last several months?
Can I run the 110 flat? No, but I'm still in good shape.
Are you, bro?
No.
I know you spoke
my schedule.
I know you spoke with your doctor after the debate. What did he say?
He said, he just looked at me. He said, you're exhausted. I said, look, I have medical doctors travel me everywhere, every president does, as you know. Medical doctors, some of the best in the world, travel me everywhere I go. I have an ongoing assessment of what I'm doing. They don't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong.
I know you said you have an ongoing assessment.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, so delusional. Hey, O'Day. Oh, it's good to see you again. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you always. And it's good to see you again. I didn't see you in the last live. I hope you're doing well. Thank you. Yeah, I love that. He goes, why don't you watch me? The doctor said I was in great shape. Watch me. Bro, that's the problem. We are watching you. We are watching you. Like, this is so delusional. This is next level delusional. Just watch me. Oh my gosh, make it stop.
Listen, have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me. And I've had a full physical. I had, I've done a Walter Reed for my physicals. Yes. The answer.
I know your doctor said he consulted with an.
Hold on. I've got to answer this. Hi, Solomon said, I saw your video criticizing leftists for their anti-electoralism regarding Jamal Bowman. Do you feel the same way about leftists who hold the same views regarding Biden? No, I don't. Because Biden is at the top of the ticket. He is one person, and he is and he accepts money from AIPAC. So he's totally beholden to the Israeli regime. If he weren't, I would feel differently. I do believe in voting. I do believe in electoralism. I think that it is important to not just sit around and talk about how much you hate our system, but then you don't do anything to try to fight it or make it better or create any kind of sustainable change. That's my problem with leftists, especially since who was going up against Jamal Bowman was a Zionist, somebody who was being funded and promoted by AIPAC, and Jamal Bowman had explicitly criticized and rejected money from AIPAC. So that was my criticism. Like, leftists sitting around talking about how they're not going to vote for Jamal Bowman, even though he was the only one that was explicitly rejecting money from AIPAC. And what came of that criticism? Nothing, except for another Zionist got in office. Another Zionist got in office. So to me, that is just so counterproductive. And but Biden is a Zionist who takes money from AIPAC. So it's not the same thing. Yeah, I always say that, Perry. I never say that voting is the end all be all of everything. I always say it's, yeah, no problem, Solomon. And same, I guess this answer would go to Solomon too. I never say that voting is the end all be all. I always say it's one tool in the toolbox, but it's one that we should use. So of course it's not just vote and everything will be fine. No, you should be actively engaged in your community and trying to make change on a multitude of different levels. But if you have voting available to you, why not use it? Especially when you know that the right wing and the Zionists always do. It's like, why just cede that ground to them?
Neurologist. I guess I'm asking you a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a
He
specialist?
looks senile.
No one said I had to. No one said. They said I'm good.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day.
Oh my God.
Every day I have that test.
Oh
Everything
my
I do.
gosh.
You know, not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. I don't know if I was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with her.
This is totally insane. I don't know if you guys caught that, but George Stephanopoulos asked him, would you be willing to undergo a cognitive or neurological screening, a test? And he said, I do it every day. Seriously? That's your response? So he's saying no. He's saying no. This is why I can't stand the Democrats. Joe Biden and the Democrats both criticized Donald Trump for refusing to get certain tests, right? They said it was anti-democratic, but now he's refusing to undergo a cognitive test or a neurological exam. So you're going to be anti-democratic then, anti-small d democratic, because you'll remember, those of you who were paying attention to politics back then, that the Democrats skewered Trump and raked him over the coals. The media skewered him and raked him over the coals for the fact that he refused to be transparent during the election. He refused to be more transparent during the election. And he refused to take further tests. Remember? The media raked him over the coals. And now Biden is asked directly, will you take a cognitive or neurological exam to prove to the American people that you have what it takes to run? And he is saying no. He is saying no. That is literally what Trump did. How is he different than Trump now? How is he different than Trump? He's doing the same shit that they criticized Trump for.
With Prime Minister, I shouldn't get into the detail, but with Netanyahu, I'm on the phone with the new Prime Minister of England. I'm working on what we're doing with regard to in Europe, with regard to expansion of NATO and whether it's going to stick. I'm taking on Putin. I mean, every day, there's no day I go through, they're not those.
Yes, to go back to the voting thing, ranked choice voting is something everybody should be fighting for. That's something that people could fight for. And I wish more people were. There are initiatives that are out there, like organizations fighting for ranked choice voting, that would absolutely be a game changer in our electoral system. And too many people don't do it. Leftists should be putting their energy into that, or energy into changing the states so that we can get rid of the electoral college and states commit to going with the popular vote. That would also be a huge game changer. Like putting your energy into that.
Those decisions I have to make every single day.
And you have.
I hear you still punk as fuck, but I hate them too. I really do. I hate them. but I'm still going to, if I had been in Jamal Bowman's district, I would have voted for him just as a vote against AIPAC, because I am tired of foreigners controlling our elections. I'm tired of AIPAC interfering in our elections.
I've been doing that, and the American people have been watching, yet their concerns about your age and your health are growing. So that's why I'm asking, to reassure them, would you be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left.
Watch me!
It's over 125 days.
So the right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that, right?
No, I've already done it.
Oh my
You
God!
talked a lot about your successes at the beginning of this interview, and I don't want to dispute that. I don't want to debate that. But as you know,
This is unbelievably embarrassing. Unbelievably embarrassing. Watch me. So you won't be willing to do an independent evaluation. And his answer is no, I won't be willing to do an independent evaluation. So you're just like Trump. Okay. And 2, watch me. Bitch, we have been watching you. That's why people are concerned. People are concerned because we've been watching you and we all see that you're senile. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, 100% Perry. Michael Rappaport is definitely funded by them because how else would he ever get work? Oh, I don't think I told you guys this. This is also like a side note, but when I posted on Twitter that my sobriety date to be like, hey, I have 10 years sober. Michael Rappaport is such a psycho, okay, that he literally went into my comments on my post and started posting psycho shit to me and went after my husband. Like he found my husband. I don't know, like, I guess he like went on my Instagram or something, but he went through my social media and tracked down and found my husband so that he could harass my husband. Delulu. Absolutely psychotic. Lunatic shit. Like, literally obsessed with me. Literally obsessed with me. It's really next level.
Elections are about the future, not the past. They're about tomorrow, not yesterday. And the question on so many people's minds right now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together, the future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought it could happen. I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific
Awesome, Phil.
Initiative with AUKUS.
Congratulations.
I'm the guy that got 50 nations, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget.
Whatever he wants to be taken seriously.
When I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip, we invented the chip, that little chip, the computer chip. It's in everything from cell phone to weapons. And so we used to have 40%, we're down to virtually nothing. So I get in the plane against the advice of everybody, and I fly to South Korea. I convinced them to invest in the United States, billions of dollars.
Yeah,
now we have
totally
tens of billions of dollars being invested in the United States, making us back in a position where we're going to own that industry again. We have, anyway, I'm not going to take too much credit. I have a great staff.
But I guess my point is
I like how whenever he loses his train of thought, because he is actually unironically senile, he just goes, but I was the one who, anyway. Bro, this isn't even about policy at this moment. It's about you being senile, and you're just proving to us that you're senile. If a president should be tested neurologically and mentally, that's just... No, I actually do believe that they should have to have screenings, O'Day. I do believe they should have to have screenings, because why should we allow somebody who's not with it mentally to be leading our country? He's in charge of the nuclear codes. I know, right? Absolute. Very curious to see what you're sober of. Gorami, I am in recovery from alcoholism.
Whole. Do you have the mental and physical capacity to do it for another 4 years?
Please, I wouldn't be running if I didn't think I did. Look.
Who gives a shit what you think? No one else.
I'm running again because
so.
I think I understand best what has to be done to take this nation to a completely new level. We're on our way. We're on our way. And look, the decision recently made by the Supreme Court on immunity, the next president of the United States, it's not just about whether he or she knows what they're doing. It's not about a conglomerate of people making decisions. It's about the character of the president. The character of the president.
First of all, you don't get to do the character of the president routine anymore because you've overseen the murder of over 100,000 Palestinians, okay? So you don't get to do that anymore. I don't ever want to hear that I'm a good guy. I've got the character. I may be senile, but I'm a good person. I'm Grandpa Joe. No, bro, you don't get to do that anymore. No, not after overseeing and propping up that genocide in Gaza. That's number one. Number two, I feel like this is just so indicative of the empire crumbling that we're overseeing. The United States is a crumbling empire that is collapsing right before our eyes. And the gerontocracy that refuses to let go of power is a part of that. You've got our corrupt ass Supreme Court that is literally all 100 years old, and they're corrupt as hell, and they take bribes, and they legalize bribes, and they just made it legal for the president to be a dictator and a king. That's now legal. And then you've got Biden, who's a million and is senile, and Trump, who is a million and like on the verge of senility. And then you've got the gerontocracy in our Congress, all the 150-year-old skeletons like Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell that refuse to let go of power. They are overseeing the crumbling of this empire.
Determine whether or not this Constitution is employed the right way.
Let me ask you a tougher, more personal question. Are you sure you're being honest with yourself?
If the country
when you say you
that
have the mental and
survives
physical
to
capacity
that.
to serve another 4 years?
Yes, I am, because George, the last thing I want to do is not be able to meet that. I think, as some of the senior economists and senior foreign policy specialists say, if I stop now, I go down history as a pretty successful
Corporations
president.
took retirement away.
No one thought I could get done what we got done.
But are you being honest with yourself as well about your ability to defeat Donald Trump right now?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
You say that, and let me challenge you.
Sure.
Because you were close, but behind going into the debate. You're further behind now by any measure. It's been a two-man race for several months. Inflation has come down. In those last few months, he's become a convicted felon, yet you're still falling further behind.
You guys keep saying that. George, you know polling better than anybody. Do you think polling data is accurate as it used to be?
I don't think so, but I think when you look at all the polling data right now, it shows that he's
That's so embarrassing. He's now doing polling denial, which is exactly why. Oh my gosh. He's literally doing the same shit that Trump did. Can you guys remember? Does anybody remember when Trump was denying the polls in 2020? He kept saying fake polls and everybody raked him over the coals. Everybody made fun of him for the fact that he was denying the polls. Everyone in the media made fun of him for denying the polls. And now Biden is doing it. He's denying the polls. He's saying that the polls aren't real. Bro, literally doing the exact same shit that Trump did. Oh my gosh. But nobody's calling him out for it. No one's calling him out for it. No one on the liberal media is calling him out for it. None of the Democrats are calling him out for it. Doing the exact same shit. Refusing to listen, refusing to acknowledge the polls and calling them fake polls, refusing to do cognitive tests. That is all the same shit that fucking Trump did in 2020. But one poll is positive, Jack. Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
certainly ahead in the popular vote, probably even more ahead in the battleground states. And one of the other key factors there is it shows that in many of the battleground states, the Democrats who are running for Senate and the House are doing better than you are.
Well, that's not unusual in some states. I carried an awful lot of Democrats last time I ran.
No, you didn't. Also, he barely won last time, and his approval rating was way higher. When Biden won in 2020, he only won by collectively 30,000 votes across 3 swing states in the Electoral College. We're not talking about the popular vote because presidents don't win here by popular vote. They win through the Electoral College. And Biden's approval rating at that time was 52%. It is now 33%. No president in the history of the United States has ever won re-election with an approval rating that low. But all insane, he's like, what are you talking about, Jack? I won in 2020. I'm the only one that can beat Trump, Jack. I won in 2020. Yeah, your approval rating was way higher in 2020. Your approval rating was way higher in 2020, and you only barely won by the skin of your teeth. Oh my gosh, I just can't.
2020. Look, I remember them telling me the same thing in 2020. I can't win. The polls show I can't win.
Yeah.
2020,
Polls
the
are
red wave was
fake,
coming.
Jack.
Before the vote, I said that's not going to happen. We're going to win. We did better than almost any incumbent president ever has done. They said in 2023, all the tough races we're not going to win. I went into all those areas, all those districts, and we won.
All that is true, but 2020 was a close race. And your approval rating has dropped significantly since then. I think the last poll I saw was about 36%. The number of Americans who think they're too old to serve has doubled since 2020. Wouldn't a clear-eyed political calculus tell you that it's going to be much tougher to win in 2024?
Not when you're running against a pathological liar. Not when he hadn't been challenged in a way that he's about to be challenged. Not when people...
You've had months to challenge him.
Well, sure.
Challenge him, not when you're challenged in the way that he's about to be challenged. Bro, it's July. He has proved that he can't challenge him. It is July. He should have been challenging him for months. Not when he's challenged the way he's about to be challenged. How have you challenged him? How have you challenged him? You literally ate shit on the debate stage. How have you challenged him exactly? The way he's about to be challenged, you've had all this time. How did you challenge him during the debate? He lied at least 30 times and you didn't challenge him at all. He lied at least 30 times and you did not challenge him at all. How are you going to challenge him? Also, it shows how pathetic he actually is that he's not beating Trump by a lot. The fact that he's trailing Trump at all just shows how pathetic he is. He should be wiping the floor with Trump in the polls because Trump is a liar and Trump is a loser and he is a convicted felon and he was a terrible president. Biden should be wiping the floor with him. The fact that he's losing in polling tells you so much. Tells you so much about how bad Biden is.
Sure, but I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around the world, like keeping NATO together, like working anyway. So look,
Do you really believe you're not behind right now?
I think it's all the pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up.
All the pollsters I talk
I'm
to tell
behind.
me it's a
There's only
toss-up.
one poll I'm really
So
far
you're
behind:
delusional
CBS
circle.
poll and NBC. And
New York Times and NBC.
Guys, this is literally delusional Trump denial. Well, the pollsters I talk to say me it's a toss-up. It's not a toss-up. The aggregate of polls shows that you're losing, okay? Psychotic.
You both have you about 6 points behind in the popular vote.
That's exactly right. New York Times had me behind before anything having to do with this race. Had me behind 10 points. 10 points had me behind. Nothing's changed substantially in the debate in the New York Times poll.
Just when you look at the reality, though, Mr. President, I mean, you won the popular vote in 2020, but it was still deadly close in the electoral
By 7
college.
million votes.
Yes, but you're behind now.
For everybody that's talking about voting, if you actually want to vote regarding Gaza on the presidential line, then Jill Stein is probably your best bet. And the reason for that is Cornel West is not going to get on the ballot in all 50 states. RFK is a lunatic Zionist. He's just as Zionist as fucking Biden, if not worse. And obviously Trump is a psycho and was a horrible president, did nothing but give tax cuts to the rich and corporations, and is also a lunatic Zionist. The only one who is running who isn't a lunatic Zionist, besides Cornel West, as I said, but he's not even going to get on the ballot in all the states, is Jill Stein. Really the only option at the presidential level.
Popular vote.
I don't buy that.
Is it worth
I
the
don't
risk?
buy that. So you're just going to...
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
You know, the heart of your case against Donald Trump is that he's only out for himself, putting his personal.
With this race, had me behind 10 points. 10 points had me behind. Nothing's changed substantially
I don't buy it. So you're literally like Trump. You're just denying reality.
in the debate in the New York Times poll.
Just when you look at the reality, though, Mr. President, I mean, you won the popular vote in 2020, but it was still deadly close in the electoral
By 7
college.
million votes.
Yes, but you're behind now in the popular vote.
I don't buy that.
Is it worth the risk?
I don't think anybody's more qualified to be president or win this race than me.
So
You know, the heart of your case against Donald Trump is that he's only out for himself, putting his personal interest ahead of the national interest. How do you respond to critics who say that by staying in the race, you're doing the same thing?
He is.
Well, I don't think those critics know what they're talking about.
They're just wrong.
It's wrong. Look, Trump is a pathological liar.
We're not, though.
Trump is, he is. Have you ever seen anything Trump did that benefited somebody else, not him? You can't answer, I know.
I've questioned him and his allies as persistently as any.
We're
chance.
not.
No, I know you have. I'm not being
Yeah,
critical.
yeah.
I'm not being critical. But look, I mean, the man is a congenital liar. As I said, they pointed out in that debate he lied 27, 28 times the times, or whatever number, over 20 times. Talk about how good his economy was, how he brought down inflation, how this is a guy who, unlike only other president other than him, is Hoover, lost more jobs than he created. This is a guy who told us to put bleach in our arms to deal with COVID, with over a million people died. This is a guy who talks about wanting to get rid of the healthcare provision we put in place. This is a guy who wants to give the power back to big pharma to be able to charge exorbitant prices.
You
for
can't even
drugs.
get it
This is a guy who
out.
wants to undo every single thing I've done. Every single thing.
I understand that. I understand that's why you want to stay in the race. But if you convince yourself that only you can defeat him,
I convinced myself of two things. I'm the most qualified person to beat him, and I know how to get things done.
Oh, my
if
gosh.
you can be convinced that you cannot defeat Donald Trump, will you stand down?
Well, it depends and what the Lord Almighty comes down and tells me that, I might do that.
Well,
So basically,
on
you
a more
won't
practical
step
level,
down
Washington
until
Post just
Jesus
reported
comes,
in the last
unless
hour
Jesus
that
comes
Senator
and
Mark
tells you to
Warner is
get out.
assembling a group of
Comes and
senators
tells you to get out.
together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination too. Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect him.
Mark,
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried, and if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries Well, I mean, on a more practical level, Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've
Mark
never had
Warner
that.
never
He also
ran
tried to
for
get the nomination
president.
too. Mark's not. Mark and I have a different perspective. I respect it.
You just said Mark tried to get the nomination too. No, he didn't. Mark Warner never ran for president. We're just making shit up now.
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I go into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail, including Jim Clyburn. Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race.
Well,
Stay
then
in the
they're
race. No
horrible
one said
people too.
I should leave.
But if they do,
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
you sure?
Well, yeah, sure. Look, I mean, if the Lord Almighty came out and said, Joe, get out of the race, I get out of the race, the Lord Almighty's not coming down. I mean, these hypotheticals, George. It's
not really hypothetical.
But it's not that hypothetical anymore. I grant that they have not requested the meeting, but it's been reported.
I've met with them. I've met with a lot of these people. I've talked with them regularly. I had an hour conversation with Hakeem. I had more time with them than Jim Clyburn. I spent time with many hours.
Then they're horrible too.
With Chuck Schumer. It's not like I had all the governors.
I agree that the Lord Almighty is not going to come down, but if you are told reliably from your allies, from your friends and supporters in the Democratic Party, in the House and the Senate, that they're concerned you're going to lose the House and the Senate if you stay in, what will you do?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Why?
What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
So
Why
today,
not?
how many people do you get draw crowds like I do today? You find me more enthusiastic than today?
He's really
I mean,
talking about
I don't
crowds.
think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question about
for
that.
real.
He can draw a big crowd, but what's he say? Who's he have? I'm the guy supposedly in trouble. We raised $38 million within 4 days after this. We have over a million
my
individual
God.
contributors. Less than $200. I mean, I've not seen what you're proposing.
You haven't seen the fall off in the polls. You haven't seen the reports of discontent in the Democratic Party, House Democrats, Senate Democrats.
I've seen it from the press.
From the
I've heard from dozens of your supporters over the last few days, and a variety of views. I grant
That's
you that.
amazing. That's amazing. It's so delusional. He's like, no one is criticizing me except for the press. So fake polls. He's saying the polls are fake. He's saying that no Democrat is criticizing him, even though there have been other Democrats criticizing him, including Mark Warner, who he just acknowledged that. And then he's like, no one. No one except for the press. Literally next level delusion.
My only sentiment is this. They love you, and they will be forever grateful to you for defeating Donald Trump in 2020. They think you've done a great job as president, a lot of successes you outlined.
He's also
But they are
ignoring the
worried
American
about you
people.
and the country, and they don't think you can win. They want you to go with grace, and they will cheer you if you do. What do you say to
I
that?
say the vast majority are not where those folks are.
No, that is
I
where
don't doubt there's some folks there.
actually.
Have you ever seen a group at time when elected officials running for office aren't a little worried? Have you ever seen that? I've not. Same thing happened in 2020. Oh, Biden, I don't know, man. What's he going to do? He may bring me down.
He's seriously so
Mr. President, I've
delusional.
never seen a president
Really
36%
think people
approval get
don't think
reelected.
that?
Well, I don't believe that's my approval. That's not what our polls show.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel?
He just denied the polls again. Your approval rating is low. And he was like, I don't believe that. Literally. Oh my God.
Mr. President, I've never seen a president at 36% approval get reelected.
Well, I don't believe that's my approval. That's not what our polls show.
Delusional.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the good job as I know I can do. That's what this is about. Look, George,
No,
think of it
that's
this way.
not what it's about.
You've heard me say this before. I think the United States and the world is at an inflection point.
That's probably the worst answer of everything he gave. That's probably the most revealing answer and the most amazing psychotic answer that he gave. Okay? He said, if Trump wins and everything that happens that you're warning of, all the horrible things that they're saying happens, that it becomes a dictatorship, that Trump destroys everything, how are you going to feel? And his answer is, I'll feel fine as long as I know I did my best. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that this was about your trophy, your participation trophy. I didn't realize that this was about your self-actualization. You say it's about the country. You say that democracy is on the ballot. You say that you're concerned that if Trump wins, we'll never see another election again. You claim that this is about the good of the country and that the country will fall into dictatorship and autocracy if Trump wins. But if you lose, you're not worried about those things suddenly coming to pass, because as long as you tried hard and you gave it your best, you know that you're going to be happy, because that way you'll get your participation trophy, and that way you'll know you tried your darndest, you tried your goodest, and you'll be happy with that, even if democracy burns to the ground, because you tried your best. That is next level narcissism. That is next level delusion. That is next level. So this isn't. So what he's admitting here is that it's not about the country. What he just inadvertently admitted was that it's not about the country. It's about his self-actualization. It's about him. I'm sorry. This should be front page news, okay? This should be everywhere. This should be everywhere. It should be leading every fucking news channel. It should be on the cover of every media outlet. Joe Biden admits that him winning and him trying his best is more important than whether or not he loses the election. Whether or not the election goes to Trump is not as important to him as whether or not he tried his best, okay? Like, what? I mean, what? That should be the story. That should be the story. That he doesn't care if the country descends into chaos and fascism. All the Democrats claim that they care so much about the country descending into fascism, but that you don't care even if Trump were to win because you tried your best. Oh my gosh. That right there tells me two things. Number one, they are narcissists who do not care about anything else about like Biden, about his self-actualization and his power and his name. And that the other thing is, they either don't care about democracy, they don't really think it's on the ballot, or they don't really believe what they're saying, because if they did, they would not risk it. If they really believed that democracy was on the ballot, they would not risk it. And the reason why they're not really that concerned is because they know they're going to be fine either way. Either way, they're going to be fine. Rich people, they're going to be fine. Democrats, Democratic lawmakers, they're going to be fine. Corporations, they're going to be fine. The Israeli regime, they're still going to get their money. They're still going to get their billions. So that's why they don't really care. They don't care because what's going to change in the country is not going to hurt them. It's not going to hurt them. So they don't care either way. They have no loyalty to the country. As long as it's good for business, they don't care. And Trump would be good for big business. So they really don't mind. These people are disgusting.
The things that happen in the next several years are going to determine what the next 6-7 decades look like. And who's going to be able to hold NATO together like me? Who's going to be able to be in a position where I'm able to keep?
While I don't disagree, Joe, that we already live in an autocracy to some degree, or at the very least, we live in a plutocracy and an oligarchy. I also I don't get with the people who claim that nothing's going to get worse. No, it can get worse, and it will.
The Pacific Basin in a position where we're at least checkmating China now. Who's going to do that? Who has that reach? Who knows all these? We're going to have, I guess, a good way to judge me is you're going to have now the NATO conference here in the United States next week. Come listen. See what they say.
Mr. President, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
That's it.
ABC News also offered a
That's
one-on-one
it.
interview to Donald Trump after the debate. He declined. Let's bring in our political team for what they're.
Bro, that was it. He could only do 22 minutes. 22 minutes. That's it. And he was still out of it. That was a disaster. That was an absolute epic disaster. And it is embarrassing that he's not getting raked over the coals for that. It's embarrassing that he is not getting skewered for that interview. He should be being skewered for that interview. And his answer that if he loses and Trump wins, well, he tried his best. Are you kidding me? Ugh. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, it will definitely get worse under Trump. Trump is going to win. It's going to get worse after him, under him, because what he's going to do is he's going to supercharge everything. He's going to supercharge money to the genocidal Israeli regime. He's going to pass more tax cuts for the rich and corporations. The reason why Trump is so like dangerous and dark to me is that he pretends to be for the working people and the working man while he just sat there and gave everything to the rich, just like scooped shovels and shovels of money to the rich and corporations. He just accelerated it, and that's what will happen. I don't think he'll curb the Ukraine war. I don't know. I honestly, Joe, I don't know how we end this nightmare. I really don't. I really don't. I'm scared that it's just going to get worse. And the thing that's upsetting about it is, like I said, it's only going to get worse for certain people, for some of us. It's not going to get worse for the rich. It's not going to get worse for the elite. It's not going to get worse for corporations or the Israeli regime. It's going to get worse for everyday people. It's going to get worse for everyday working people in this country. That's what's going to hurt. It's going to hurt marginalized groups. It's going to hurt poor people. It's not going to hurt any of these ghouls. It's not going to hurt the people that inflicted it. The people that caused it, the people that did it, the people that inflicted it, they're not going to be touched by this. They're going to be fine either way. Oh my gosh, what a disaster. What an epic disaster. All right, let's start this. I have to pee, but after I pee, let's do the Haaretz article about the Hannibal Directive. I'll play a little bit of this while I pee, and then we can do that. Also, a reminder that you can always join to be a member on my YouTube or Ko-Fi. You can send super chats or stickers, all of that. And you can also become a member on my Instagram. Subscribe to my Instagram. I'll be RB. I'm just going to pee, and then we'll do that.
Your hearing. Let me start out with our chief Washington correspondent, John Carl. And John, you watched the interview. You've been talking to people all across Washington. What are you hearing?
Well, George, look, Biden looked better and certainly more coherent than he looked during the debate. But there was nothing in this interview that is calming nerves of jittery Democrats who fear that Joe Biden is on a trajectory to lose this race, to lose to Donald Trump. In fact, for some of those people, the interview is raising new concerns, particularly the fact that he is unwilling or unaware of the fact that he is in a dire situation here regarding the campaign, that he is losing in the view of many Democrats. And frankly, in the polls you cited, that he is losing to Donald Trump. And there was one question that you asked where his answer is particularly, I believe, alarming to some of those Democrats. You asked him how he will feel in January if he has lost to Donald Trump and all that he has warned would happen came to pass. And this was his answer. He said, I'll feel, as long as I gave it my all and did the best job I know I can do, that's what this is about. One prominent ally of the president simply responded to me, wow, when I asked about that question. So the bottom line here, there was nothing in this interview that will force Joe Biden out of the race. There was no, major thing that will convince him or any of his allies. I believe they have to go. But there's also nothing in this interview that will calm the nerves of Democrats who are saying it is time for him to get out.
Martha Raddatz, the president is talking to a lot of people, but he appears to be listening to a very tight circle.
A very tight circle, and administration officials I have spoken to said that very tight inner circle is telling them he can win, that he needs to keep going. This, of course, includes his wife, Jill, who they said is lashing out at those who want him to get out of the race. This was a Joe Biden pumped up, on his inner circle telling him that again and again. They think he will have many opportunities, but those not in the inner circle say this will also expose him to a great deal of risk. And George, I've talked to a few people too, and texting with a few people as well on the Hill. They say it was better than they expected, wasn't as bad as they expected, but that's a pretty low bar, George.
Yeah, you don't say.
And Mary, Bruce, what are you hearing from the White House?
That was a pretty low bar. You don't say. Oh my gosh. Come on, bro. Oh, I guess it came out yesterday. Bro. None of these work. Why is this moving so slow? Thank you, Tom. I appreciate the super chat. I really do. I appreciate all of your support every single day. A dog's soul is worth more than a politician. True. True. I actually often say that how you can tell someone's evil or not is if dogs don't like them or if they don't like dogs. If a person hates dogs, there's something wrong with them. Like something is off. Oh, yeah. I saw the Zionists crying on Twitter about the French elections. I haven't even looked. It's so crazy. Oh, Tom, you hear the puppies walking? Yeah, I know, because I have hardwood floors, so you can hear them when they walk on the ground. Yeah, I don't even know what happened in the French election, guys, because like I said, I actually like committed to staying offline for a couple days so that I could spend that time with my family. And it was hard because I am online, especially since I create content and do content creation and do political commentary. I'm always online. So like not being online was actually crazy for a couple days. The left. Wait, did somebody say that the left won in France? That's crazy if they did, because I thought that the far right was supposed to win. I thought that was the prediction. Oh, that's why all the Zionists are crying. Okay. Wow. That is amazing. That's amazing, JT. That's amazing that the left actually won. That never happens. I feel like that never happens. I feel like the right wing always ends up winning. That's true, but the fact that the left even like showed up is amazing because I feel like oftentimes, not just here in the US, but all around the world, the left like never fucking shows up. So the fact that they did is kind of amazing. Jaya, I probably saw that too. I saw videos like that and it's very upsetting. Yeah, it was. I thought it must be somewhat of good news if the Zionists were crying about it. Okay, so I guess this is not working. I was hoping I could get this to work, but it's not. The Wayback Machine. Yeah, it's supposed to capture it. What's the hell is happening? Okay. What about 12 foot? How come none of these are working? Seriously? Bro, none of them are working. Bro. There we go. The last one. The last one, brah. There we go. Yeah, that article is just confirming everything we've been screaming for 9 months. Yeah, true. True. Okay, let's go over this. And it's good to go over just because also, you never know who might come across it later, but it is important to talk about this because they've been lying about this for months, screeching about it for months. IOF ordered Hannibal Directive on October 7th to prevent Hamas from taking soldiers captive. There was a crazy hysteria and decisions started being made without verified information. Documents and testimonies obtained by Haaretz reveal the Hannibal operational order, which directs the use of force to prevent soldiers from being taken into captivity, was employed at 3 army facilities infiltrated by Hamas, potentially endangering civilians as well. Potentially. The Gaza Division operations air strikes in the first hours of October 7th were based on limited information. The first long moments after the Hamas attack was launched were chaotic. Reports were coming in with their significance not always clear. When their meaning was understood, it was realized that something horrific had taken place. Communication networks could not keep up with the flow of information, as was the case for soldiers sending these reports. However, a message conveyed at 11:22 a.m. across the Gaza Division network was understood by everyone. Not a single vehicle can return to Gaza was the order. So not a single vehicle can return to Gaza was the order, knowing that they had taken hostages. That's not sus at all. Also, why 11:22 in the morning? Didn't the attack start at like 6 a.m.? That's sus. Communicate. Oh, I already read that. At this point, the IOF was not aware of the extent of the kidnapping along the Gaza border, but it did know that many people were involved. Thus, it was entirely clear that the message meant and what the fate of some of the kidnapped people might be or would be. So what they're saying is at that point, the IOF knew that there were hostages and what it meant to say nobody can go over that border, including Israelis. Sources, scores. Greetings, everyone. Thank you. Hey, sources. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who donates and becomes a member and sends super chat. I love you guys. It is always seen. It is always appreciated. This was not the first order given by the division with the intent of foiling kidnapping, even at the expense. Okay, let that one sink in, guys. This was not the first order given by the division with the intent of foiling the kidnapping, even at the expense of the lives of the kidnapped, a procedure known in the Army as the Hannibal Directive. Documents obtained by Haaretz as well as testimonies of soldiers, mid-level and senior IOF soldier officers, reveal a host of orders and procedures laid down by the Gaza Division, Southern Command, and the IOF General Staff up to the afternoon hours of that day, showing how widespread this procedure was from the first hours following the attack and at various points along the border. Haaretz does not know whether or how many civilians and soldiers were hit due to these procedures, but the cumulative data indicates that many of the kidnapped people were at risk, exposed to Israeli gunfire, even if they were not the target. Yeah, like, because we all remember, right, seeing the cars, all the cars that were hit. Everyone remembers that, right? Because they didn't have Apache helicopters. So how did that happen to all those cars? Including people who were trying to flee while driving. At 6:43 a.m., at a time rocket barrages were launched at Israel through thousands of Hamas operatives were attacking army strongholds, the division's observation and communications capabilities, the division's commander, Brigadier General Avi Rosenfeld, declared that the Philistines have invaded. So let me get this straight, Santa. You knew that they had come in at 6:43 a.m. And at 11 a.m., they still had not stopped it. Sus. Something is not adding up there. Something is not adding up there. You knew about this from 6:43 a.m. and here it is 11 and you still haven't ended it. They love to brag about all their technology. They love to brag about that. They've got so much technology. They've got the most advanced technology in the world. Sources scores. This is the procedure when the enemy invades Israeli territory, upon which the division commander can assume extraordinary authority, including the deployment of heavy fire inside Israeli territory in order to block an enemy raid. So what they're saying is they could go after even their own citizens if it meant getting rid of the enemy, which is exactly what they did at all the kibbutzim. They did that. All those kibbutzes that had all those people targeted that were living there were hit by Apache helicopter gunfire. And you know that they received those orders that it was fine to do so, so long as they were able to get rid of the Hamas people. Very senior IOF source confirmed to Haaretz that the Hannibal procedure was employed on October 7th, adding that this was not used by the divisional commander who did give the order. This, said the source, will perhaps be established by post-war investigations. So he's confirming that it happened. In any case, says defense official who is familiar with the October 7th operations at the Gaza division, in the morning hours, no one knew what was going on outside. He says that Rosenfeld was in the war room, not emerging while an outside war was raging. That's sus. Everyone was shocked by the number of terrorists who had penetrated the base. Even in our nightmares, we didn't have plans for such an attack. What do you mean? What do you mean you didn't have plans for such an attack? I thought you had the most advanced army in the world. I thought you had the most advanced technology in the world. What do you mean you weren't prepared? By a bunch of guys randomly storming through with nothing but the arms that they had on them? And you weren't prepared for that. Nah, man, something doesn't make sense. Something doesn't add up. I don't know what that is, but something does not add up. They had a clue about the number of people kidnapped or where army forces were. Yeah, bro, the reason why they were able to kidnap so many people is because they didn't have any opposition. There was crazy hysteria with decisions being made without any verified information, he continued. One of these decisions was made at 7:18 a.m. when an observation post at the Yifta outpost reported that someone had been kidnapped at the Erez border crossing adjacent to the IOF's liaison office. Hannibal at Erez came the command from a divisional headquarters. Dispatch a Zeke. The Zeke is an unmanned assault drone, and the meaning of this command was clear. So they were saying that at 7:18, they were already commanding the Hannibal Directive, knowing that they had an Israeli, knowing that. This wasn't the last time such an order was heard over the communications network. Over the next half hour, the division realized that Hamas terrorists had managed to kill and abduct had managed to kill or abduct soldiers serving at the crossing and at the adjacent base. Then at 7:41, it happened again. Hannibal at Erez, an assault on the crossing of the base, just so no more soldiers could be taken. Such commands were given later as well. Okay, so again, this is literally them reporting that they knew that they were capturing people. And they knew that they had Israelis, and they just said, go and do it anyway. Multiple times, too. Because they didn't want soldiers to be taken. The Erez border crossing was not the only place that this happened. Information obtained by Haaretz and confirmed by the army shows that throughout the morning, the Hannibal procedure was employed at 2 other locations penetrated by terrorists: the Reim Army Base, where the divisional headquarters was located, and the Nahal Oz outpost in which female spotters were based. This did not prevent the kidnapping of 7 of them or the killing of 15 others, as well as 38 other soldiers. Over the next few hours, the division headquarters started pulling the pieces of the puzzle together, realizing the extent of the Hamas attack, but missing the invasion of kibbutz near Oz, which the first army forces reached only after the terrorists had left. Regarding the frequency of employing the Hannibal procedure, it seems that nothing changed. Thus, for example, at 10:19 a.m., a report had reached the divisional headquarters indicating that Zeke had attacked the Reim base. 3 minutes later, another such report arrived. At that time, the Shaldeg commando forces were already on the base fighting the terrorists. To this day, it is not clear whether one of them was hurt in the drone attack. What is known is that over the communications network, there was a message asking everyone to make sure no soldier was outdoors on the base, since the IOF forces were about to enter and drive out or kill remaining terrorists. The decision to conduct the attacks inside outposts, says a senior defense official, will haunt senior commanders all their lives. Anyone making such a decision knew that our combatants in the area could be hit as well. So they're saying they knew it. They're saying they knew it. That's why they're saying it haunted them, because they knew that they were going to kill their own civilians. But such an attack took place, it turns out, not only inside outposts or bases. At 10:32 a.m., a new order was issued. According to all battalions in the area were ordered to fire mortars in the direction of the Gaza Strip. Internal discussions in the army noted that this was the order attributed to General Rosenfeld, was heavily criticized since at the time the IOF did not have a complete picture of all the forces in the area, including soldiers and civilians. Some of these were in open areas or in woods along the border trying to hide from terrorists. So they knew that there were people hiding and did it anyway. At that point, the army did not know the number of people who had been kidnapped. We thought that the number dozens at the stage, the military source told Haaretz. Firing mortars at the Gaza Strip would endanger them as well. But furthermore, another order was given at 11:22, according to which no vehicle would be allowed to return to Gaza. This took this step further. Everyone knew by then that such vehicles could be carrying kidnapped civilians or soldiers. A source in Southern Command told Haaretz there was no case in which the vehicles carrying the kidnapped people was knowingly attacked, but you couldn't really know if there were any such people in a vehicle. I can't say that there was a clear instruction, but everyone knew what it meant to not let any vehicles return to Gaza. I mean, so it wasn't 1, it wasn't 2, it wasn't 3, it wasn't 4. It was literally attack after attack after attack. It was literally order after order after order after order telling them to employ the Hannibal Directive. It's just crazy. A new development occurred at 2 p.m. All the forces were instructed not to exit the border communities toward the west in the direction of the border, with the emphasis on not chasing terrorists. At that point, the border area was under intense fire directed at anyone in the area, making it a danger zone. The instruction, says the source in southern Gaza, was meant to turn the area around the border fence into a killing zone, closing it off toward the west. At 6:40 p.m., the military intelligence believed that many terrorists were intending to flee together back to the Gaza Strip in an organized manner. This was near Kibbutz Be'eri, Kfar Aza, and the Kisufim. Following this, the army launched artillery raids at the border fence area very close to some of those communities. Shortly afterwards, shells were fired at the Erez border crossing. The IOF says it is not aware of any civilians being hurt in those bombardments. Well, they don't need to say that because we all saw the photos. We all saw the photos of all the kibbutzes that had been shelled. Like, I like how they're trying to play dumb there. Like, I don't know. We don't know. We saw the shelling, bro. One case in which it is known that civilians were hit, a case that received wide coverage, took place in the house of Presi Cohen at Kibbutz Be'eri. 14 hostages were held in the house as the IOF attacked it, with 13 of them killed. In the coming weeks, the IOF is expected to publish the results of its investigation of the incident, which will answer the question of whether or not Brigadier General Barak Harim, the commander of the Division 99, who is in charge of operations in Be'eri on October 7th, was employing the Hannibal Directive procedure. Did he order a tank to move ahead, even at the cost of civilian casualties, as he stated in an interview he gave later to the New York Times? First of all, I doubt that he's going to admit wrongdoing. If anything, he'll probably blame it on like rank and file soldiers, because he's not going to want to take responsibility for that. But what's amazing is that the media still lies about what happened at that kibbutz. Like this article says right here, and this article is coming from Israeli media, they already admitted 13 civilians were killed by their artillery fire at that Be'eri. But they still don't admit it. The Zionists and all the propaganda still go over all the media and claim that it was Hamas that did that when it clearly was them, and that's already been reported. It's amazing. Overall, the 3 months that have passed, the IOF has refused to say whether this procedure was employed against civilians who had been taken hostage. It now seems that even if the answer is positive, the question may have been only a partial one. The actions of Haram may have simply been congruent with the way the IOF operated that day. Okay, yeah, that's clearly artillery fire. As far as Haaretz knows, Even at 9:33 p.m., this was still the situation on the ground. At that time, there was a further order from Southern Command, close off all border areas with tanks. In fact, all forces in the area received permission to open fire at anyone approaching the border area without any restrictions. The IOF spokesperson responded by saying the Army has been fighting for 6 months at high intensity on several fronts, focusing on attaining the war's objectives. What objective? In tandem, the IOF has begun conducting internal investigations of what transpired on October 7th and the preceding period. The aim of these investigations is to learn to draw lessons which could be used to continuing the battle. When these investigations are concluded, the results will be presented in the public with transparency. Will it though? Will it? Because none of you are transparent. So what should we really expect? If anything, they're just trying to stave off the investigation. First of all, why would anybody trust the IOF to investigate itself? Why is anybody trusting them to investigate themselves? There should be outside investigations. Second of all, for him to be like, we're trying to get the purpose, the objective. What's the objective? It's clearly not to get the hostages because you guys literally went after your own people. You don't care about them. That much is clear. That much is clear. We all knew this was the case. It's just a matter of it coming out. It's just a matter of it coming out. But we all have known this was the case from the jump. Yeah, for real. The lesson they drew was to operate in a free fire zone without regard to civilian casualties. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And they allowed this to go on for hours. Hours. Absalom Jones. Every other post is censored. Thank you, Absalom Jones. I appreciate you. I appreciate the super chat. We all got to keep fighting the good fight. I just think it's amazing. You knew that it was going to come out sooner or later, but I think it's amazing that this was actually reported in Israeli media. And I want to see an independent investigation. But they still, I mean, that's the importance of debunking this kind of stuff, because even in this article talking about how the kibbutz Berim thing was debunked months ago, they still repeat it. They still repeat it. It's quite something. And if you'll notice, that's why they don't allow for any of the hostages that have returned to really be interviewed. They don't really want to hear from them, which is kind of sus because you'd think they'd want to. Well, no one should trust the IOF numbers. I don't trust anything they say. They're like fake internal investigations. No, I only trust things that have been verified by like third parties. And it has been verified in this article and in articles before it that they employed the Hannibal Directive. Not just the Erez crossing. They did it multiple times throughout the day. Multiple times throughout the day. And the other question that has not been answered is, why did they allow it to go on for so long? I thought you guys had such an advanced military. What up? That's just crazy. And they keep using the same propaganda over and over and over again, even on things that have already been debunked. Yeah, never believe anything they say. Never believe anything that they say. The truth will continue to come out. It will. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's another sus question that hasn't been answered is why was the festival over there to begin with? A lot of unanswered questions. It's just crazy. Wow. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I got to run because got to do a lot of things today for the rest of the day. But thank you for hanging out with me. I'll be doing another live on Thursday at the same time at 5. Another live on this Thursday at 5. So join me for that. And I want to say thank you again to everybody who sent me super chats during this live. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys always. I appreciate you supporting my work so I can keep doing this. I love you all. And I will see you on Friday. And to everyone, keep fighting the good fight. I love you and free Palestine. Love you all. See you Thursday at 5. And subscribe if you haven't already subscribed and ring the bell. Bye, guys.